for it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, Link.
Yeah, and I would say we're probably going to expect Claude being banned out too. It will still leave some things open. But also just a little fact here. Before the previous game, right, Rrq Hoshi, they were still 100% undefeated first pick, right? So at this point, they still, like you said, they take the first pick here. So that will allow them to take that priority. What I'm wondering is, do they still want to go with the Akai? Because we've seen teams kind of decide, do we take the Akai if it's going to be open, or do we focus on something else?
I think this is one of the situations where they... Okay, so Rrq can decide not to take a Kai first pick, which I do think is a bit of a mistake, but they are going to flex it. I'm guessing, early prediction that R7 might be the one who picks it up here instead. Because they're banning out the Esmeralda, right? We're getting some hints that maybe they're going to prioritize R7.
But there is a hero that was actually left open completely there. It was the Julian, right? So where is the Julian?
That's a good point.
Where is the Julian? Where does he come into this game?
I mean, Julian's been a little weird.
He is.
In your words, he's been a little weird because it works better for me personally in the jungle. And there has been teams that have been able to play it well in the mid lane, but still, it struggles a little bit there, especially when we're talking about those mages that continuously get picked. And, you know, the Eve last game wasn't even built damage. It was utility, like you guys mentioned, and you saw the damage charts. They were still pumping out quite a bit of damage on that Eve. We see the last ban here, of course, going to be that Claude, not going to go in the hands here of Skylar. Like you said, they literally won games, right? So there you go. They go with the pick that we've been talking about. They lock in the Akai.
All right, Akai first. Rrq, I'm guessing they're going to do the same thing. They're going to pick up the Xavier here potentially, as well as the Beatrix. It seems because the Esmeralda is already banned outright. So yes, I feel like it's awkward to pick your EXP laner now because there's nothing that's really safe other than maybe Uranus, and even then, still big question marks.
Well, we're talking about Navs here, right? Again, another signature
Thamus.
hero. There it is, the Thamus.
That's what I was thinking of, right? Right now, I feel like it is, yes, you don't want to see the Xavier and the Beatrix in the enemy team, but I feel like it's still too expensive to pick off right as you start, right? It's a good pick, but you need to space it out, the timing between these two picks, and build around it. The reason why Xavier usually works in these compositions is because they have these aggressive people who are playing offense more than defense. That creates the opening for Xavier and RSGPH. I really like this. Yes, we said the Thamus, but the Masha does maybe even better at going in, aggressive plays, and just knocking down that backline of Rrq. The response, though, I feel like now Beatrix can be picked up. Do you want to go for it, or do you want to go for the same strat you did in game number 1?
I think this is a good read by Rrq, right? They pick up the Masha and they say, even if you pick up Beatrix, it's not going to be the most fun time for you. I can still thunderclap you and send you straight back. But the question is, are they going to pick up Julian as a way to kind of play this? Because Julian still is technically a flex pick and works well with Akai because you still don't know where exactly they're going to go.
Exactly, you leave it up there, right? But they're going to lock in the Eve here. That was what I was going to put on the table. I was going to say the Eve because this is, again, a similar matchup, right? Pretty much the same matchup from game number 1. But what I am wondering, do they still go with that utility build? Because it did work out for a certain amount of time, but eventually it would have been beneficial if you had a little more punch, right, on that Eve. We saw that last pickup, it was that damage item, the glowing wand, right? It worked out pretty well, but if you have a little more damage, that could be beneficial. Now, RSG Philippines, they take the Beatrix here out of the hands of Rrq.
Yeah, at hindsight, I want to talk about this right now. Emphasize Rrq's draft. They pick up the Kai for the first pick. They go for the Eve and the Karina. By picking up the Karina, you kind of reduce that flex potential of the Akai, but they still can go as a roamer, right? It can still be flexed by the XP and the roamer. We're just going to have to see how that plays in, because I feel like this is good. If Albert isn't really feeling confident to get those 50-50s on an Akai, the Karina is a completely different story. It's so easy to chain the damage with that Retribution to win and maybe build more confidence with the 50-50 plays.
I totally agree with you here. And now we're seeing the next couple of bans, the carry coming in from RSGPH, making sure that the Masha is going to be A-OK. He's going to be all good, all healthy. Max HP, can't do none of that shenanigans no more. And even for Rrq, they're getting rid of making sure that the support is a limited pool. Get rid of the Angela, make sure they don't have a dedicated wave. I do think it's a little strange considering that RSGPH right now, in terms of initiation, when we look at Masha compared to someone like an Akai, like a Kufra, and arguably even a Grok as well, they just have better ways of getting in a fight compared to Masha.
Yeah, she literally has to just
run in.
Run in, like literally sprint or run in, right? And that's what we see here. But RSG Philippines going to take out big gold laners here. Again,
Smart.
all 3 bans, right?
Very
3
smart.
bans to the gold lane here. They're really limiting the choices here for RRQ as they take out that Irithyll too, which is funny because we saw Irithyll pop up, do pretty well so far through the tournament, but still teams aren't prioritizing her as much. And RRQ takes out the Cho pick here, so they're focusing still on the choices here of light. And at the same time, RSG Philippines, right? What do they want to take to complement that jungle? Like you said, they have the Masha. They could possibly, I'm thinking for Demon Kai, right, in the jungle. If he wants to go maybe the Baksha, we've seen Baksha, right, being able to just roll around the map himself, initiate very well, and can still clear relatively well too. Plus, you know, you have that built-in passive that is beneficial for those big team fights.
I actually feel like if now they are up against the Karina, they would just try to go for the same pick here. Lancelot fits perfectly in, right? If you want to contest these 50-50 battles, Lancelot does a really good job at securing these objectives, and Demon Kai, we know he can play it really well, but no, they actually go not for the Baksha, not for the Lancelot, but the Barats here.
Yes, it's been so long, so very long we've been talking about how Barats is a very clear way of dealing with the Akai. You heavy spin, I press Alt, I eat you up, I'm not going to get knocked away too far, boom, bang, bada bing, lock you against the wall, you have no initiation tools. It's a very simple way, but no one really has been utilizing it other than Malaysian representatives. By the way, they got knocked out, so therefore you can definitely see that there is a big stain on Barat, but it's good to see him back right now.
Yeah,
There's a big question though here, Maisu and Gideon. Who is going to be the gold laner? Brody and the Ruby pick. I really like the Ruby pick considering that they are up against Iman, who is on the Beatrix here. Sure, you would usually see Masha, Barats, but I'm actually looking at Iman here because he's been so impactful, mostly when he gets the Wesker as well, right? Sure, Renner for sure, but now it kind of forces him to maybe play the Renner a little bit more, be a little bit safer on that Wesker, and that gives the opening for the Brody to come into play. That burst damage that gets everyone out. The thing is though, that late game, he falls off in terms of damage. We've seen this time and time again.
Yeah, the performance on the hero alone isn't very spectacular on that Brody pick, and RSG Philippines is going to lock in the Lolita here. So these guys are quite tanky, and this is going to be hard to get through that defense of RSG Philippines because it's going to work so well. Even you're talking about the Xavier plus the Lolita, and just to negate a lot of that incoming damage from RRQ.
I mean, negate is one way of putting it. I feel like it's more for the disengage more than anything else. It is not exactly too easy here, especially for RSG, my bad. It's not, when they are looking for these bigger engages, there's just a lot of options and tools that RRQ have to just say no. Ruby, for an example, simple way. A lot of taunts, a lot of ways to make sure that Masha isn't going to be as effective, or even Lolita.
I'm looking at the composition so far, and I just really like RSG right now. Because, okay, yes, RRQ, I agree with you. They have a lot to play with, but it's all going to come down to that early game. But ladies and gentlemen, it's time to step into the Land of Dawn for game number 2. Let's see if RRQ can equalize or RSG can follow up with the momentum.
Here we go. Game number 2 on its way. This early game is going to be a make it or break it for both sides. Demon Kai cannot lose his momentum here against Albert, who is going to be on his Karina. You know what he's like on these assassins.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, having a wow, early skirmishing already here. This is the power of a Ruby, right? And you can not able to force any spells out here yet, but going back to Vin, right? Vin, especially the performance that he has on a Franco, I feel like he does a great job on a Ruby too. You can already see the early aggression coming out.
Whoa, Demon Kite, yeah, taken very low here. He's forced to back up. That's going to be the Mystic Field Pompton used to just immobilize Vin, stop this tempo from getting any further. But you can see, right now, Light and Aqua, they are very pressured in lane.
Yeah, and that's what you want to see, especially when Vin is playing that Ruby, right? Aqua, and especially when he's on that Xavier, is not going to be very effective in the early stages of the game, and the same goes for Lolita, who just has a point-and-click stun. Okay, they didn't steal away the orange buff. Thank goodness Demon Kite can continue farming.
What I'm wondering, though, too, is in these early objectives, if they have enough here, RSG, oh, they initiate.
Oh, first blood there for RSG. Again, Vin, a little bit too aggressive there. RSG instantly punished.
Okay, going back to my point, right? Do they have enough to win these kind of early aggressive trades that are happening from RQ? And, you know, I guess they do, because they grab that first blood. And with the turtle coming up shortly, they might be able to set themselves up here. Emon going to flicker out, but has to reset too, and they want to prepare for that next turtle.
And I think this is smart. RRQ are making sure that the mid lane priority is forcing Lolita to kind of match because they're threatening somebody, and they threaten the jungle, and they can't afford the jungle to fall off that early, so Light has to match them everywhere they go, allowing for the lane-dominant heroes like Skylar playing this Brody to try and win this early game against Iman.
Let's see the first turtle fight here. It is going to be RRQ looking for more. Nats going to the back line. That's going to be Albert winning on the Retribution battle. R7 pinning Demon Kite down as the real-world manipulation comes in. Demon Kite taken low, going to be taken down there by R7 as Albert will look to kite away. The Dawning Light is not enough, even with Nat's damage to top it off. It is RRQ with a favorable 2-for-1 trade and a turtle.
See, that's the thing, right? They don't have the damage yet quite enough. And you could see, right, this is the jungle barracks does work pretty well, but even early on, especially when you're forced to fight in that real-world manipulation, and with Vin being there, it's pretty tough to win those early trades.
I think more so, they just need the items. They need their first items here. They did play a little bit of a risk trying to get a pick back, but I think RSG at this point, they don't mind. First turtle, a little bit of EXP. They're not completely out of it just yet. The only consequence that they take is the fact that Demon Kite has to restack himself all over again. He wants to be a big boy, but right now he's just going to be walking on some toddler legs for a while.
Yeah, but back at it again to the point that we made a little bit, right, in the drafts. RRQ, this composition was made to dominate this early game, securing a lot of the neutral objectives, especially with a Brody in lane. You're looking for a lot of catches. But when it comes to that late game, I feel like this is, again, a very Omega-ish draft from RSGPH. It feels like they're stalling it out for Aqua and for Iman on the speed tricks to scale up. RRQ, they need to pull the trigger. They need to look for fights early on, maybe more picks than game number 1. But so far, I feel like RSG have been able to nullify all of that.
Yeah, like you said, you know, they're going with that same kind of game plan. They've made a couple changes in their draft here, but Aqua also picking up the Clock of Destiny already at this point. So this is what we saw, right? That early fight where he didn't really have that damage yet. At this point, it's already going to be scaling. So the next big objectives that do come up, now RRQ Hoshi has to be pretty much careful in how they decide to go about those fights.
And I think a lot of it has to come down to whether or not RRQ Hoshi members have battle spells, right? And I think, oh, here we go, a fight.
Oh, R7 still able to find that heavy spin onto Aqua, even with the flicker pop, and that's going to be Light falling as well. Albert with a double kill, 2-0. This is what you want to see from RRQ. Using that early aggressiveness to just look for fights, and R7 roaming so early on is just such a curveball to RSG.
You have to admit, the RQ members are a little too good at Kai. Somehow they always get more than, like, they get 2 members at a minimum. And this is starting to become a bit of a weird trend. Like, how are they learning? What is the boot camp for Kai here?
I mean, no matter what role they play it in, it works so well for them. And that's the thing too, right? You can continue to just let Nath stay in that lane. R7 is going to be way more valuable if he joins those team fights anyway. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. So they have that early lead already, 2.4K gold lead, 5 minutes in. And like we said, RSG Philippines wants to just take the time, slow down a little bit here, and just get into this game because obviously the tempo is being set by RRQ Hoshi.
You can see that there are a lot of little victories that RRQ Hoshi are taking on the map. Not just from these team fights alone, but notice how they play the waves, especially in that mid lane. They don't usually just shove it off. Like even here, right? They're waiting for the enemy to spot out themselves, and that's going to be actually Vin, who gets caught in the render and the stun from Light. Skylar's here looking for the play onto Light, but Light just perfect flicker timing there to get out of that situation. As R7 tries to make his way into that mid lane through the top side river, he will be forced to back up by Demon Kite and Nas, showing dominance here in the river. He's just taking control.
Yep, Nats always has to match R7 no matter what, or control the lane. They need to take something away because Skylar eventually will be able to keep on pushing Iman back. Iman does get the Blade of Despair here, and Skylar relentless. Every single time he makes even a little bit of contact against Iman, instantly he pops the ult.
Yeah, I mean, Skylar also just picked it up too, right? So at that point, both gold laners, it's going to be scary and also depending on their positioning for each team to deal with that damage now. But as this look at both XP laners just cutting the lanes. They definitely want to set up for this next turtle in just a couple of seconds. And still, Clay has been in every single kill participation at this point, right? He also has that mystery shot emblem, so he's going to be able to buy, I believe he's going utility once again on the Eve, and that's why they're so confident in these fights around these objectives.
Well, let's see. Nats is going to be first here on to the river, joining up with his team, but he might be all alone. Vin going to be able to chain CC him with R7. Nats popping in that sprint, trying to look for that back line, and Skylar will be able to kite back. RRQ doing really well here at the front-to-back composition. They look for the turtle once again. Nats down to 2 HP, but look at Light. This is a very good position for him to look for that Numenon Blast. And flanks, Albert gets the kill. Numenon Blast not popped. It will find no one as Skylar jumps in. That's going to be the kill streak picked up. RRQ looking to collapse further as Light will be caught out. The Mystic Field buys a little bit more time, but Albert is just massive on the Karina. Nats, you can see him look for compensation in the mid lane. He will be able to take that turret down. R7 with no damage. There is no kill pressure, but I might be wrong here. He jumps in. He looked for the solo kill. Nats taken low, still able to run away. 1 HP with the dash.
No! Good mechanics coming out of Nats. He takes the Cyclone, knowing that if he charges, he still moves forwards during the animation. Good micro mechanics, and RSG make sure that they tax RRQ Hoshi for every move they make.
Does R7 have the cursed helmet? Because he was, I think he has the cursed helmet, right? He was burning him. I thought that one tick was going to get him. But okay, going back to that, right? I mean, that whole thing, we saw how much of a struggle it is to actually utilize that Lolita, because you charge up that Numenon Blast, but if you miss it, where do you go?
Exactly.
That kind of falls apart at that point.
Let's not forget that Light also didn't have his flicker at that point in time. He had 20 seconds still left, and they couldn't really do much about it, so they had to just somehow keep them in place in the range of that Numenon Blast, or at the very least just get the slow... They don't find that pick just yet, but Clay, he's getting a little brave here.
I want to just emphasize on what Nats was able to do there, because by getting that turret, that actually gives over the pressure to become, oh, Iman, just so aware. Yo, holy Iman, that was so good.
Iman sense.
Iman sense.
There it is.
Reaction time is ridiculous right now, but as we mentioned before, this composition from RRQ will get ahead very early on into the game, but RSGPH, they're going to play the same style here. Chris Helmet just being purchased by Demon Kite to help speed the process up as Nats continues his attack on R7. It's going to be a wet noodle fight for the large majority of this game, but we need to wait until RSGPH hits that 32K mark. That's when we're going to see them, if it still is even going to be the same.
This is crazy though, right? Because the gold lead already at this point is pretty massive for RQ, and that's again why they're going to be able to go ahead and start up this Lord early on. We'll see if they actually commit to it, because every member is now going to be this top side of the map.
9 minutes in, the Lord now chunked to half HP. RRQ looking for the play. R7 jumping in onto Demon Kai, falling back once again. RSG Light looking for the Numenon Blast. Flickers there, he has 3. The collapses here, and boom, there you have it. Skylar trying to run away with the Tornapart memory as the heavy spin will be able to just stop everyone. Albert looking for the play onto the Lord, but he's going to get bursted down by Iman. He looked for more right here, but it's going to be a 2-for-1 for RSG. No, the Bureau's Passion is there, able to chunk R7 low. Skylar can't deal more damage. Albert jumping in onto 4, but he's going to get caught out of the Mystic Field. He will still be able to get out. The Dawning Light comes through, doesn't connect, but RRQ losing out in that fight.
The desperation coming out from RRQ, they were hungry to get one back against RSG, but they made the call. We have to pull back. We cannot afford to take another loss here, and especially since Albert can't do anything more. He was too low to go in. Skylar doesn't have a front line strong enough to take damage from 4 members from RSGPH, as once again, they tax RRQ Hoshi.
So either way, right, that's still a great moment there for RSG Philippines, because they narrow the gold lead a little bit, but now they actually grab a couple turrets too, because now they're playing for space, right? They need to get those turrets down, open up the map for themselves, and this they could be looking for a play here.
Oh, Nats is so aggressive. Demon Kite getting the death to this welcome, just going to be spitting him out to the team. And Mon right there, Numenon Blast has zoned them away, as Skylar will not be able to dish out the damage. Finn still able to flicker out of there. That's going to be the re-engage from RRQ. Demon Kite falls, and RRQ, they're starting to read it, but Iman, oh my goodness, Skylar as well, getting out from that. Nats now going in once again, looking for re-engage as Light jumps in as well with the follow-up. Albert dishing out so much damage onto Nats, but that's going to be the Mystic Field. Albert caught low, will be shut down. Dawning Light connecting onto 2, and it is a 1-for-1.
Dear God, when does this end? When does that fight end?
First off, Vin survived that fight, and then the Nats with barely anybody health left. So either way, I mean, this is, again, the point when RSG Philippines, they're continuing to buy time. Look at the plays, the confidence coming in from Amon, too. He almost has enough damage to pull those kind of Beatrix maneuvers that we're used to seeing. And this could be trouble for RRQ.
I'm just surprised because, wait, the play's coming out. Mon's in trouble.
Oh, and Mon's gonna get locked down there. He will fall. Skylar takes the kill. The bottom side, though, look at what Nats was able to do.
Okay, I just talked about confidence, right? Well, maybe a little too much confidence because now he got out of position, he got caught there and punished.
Looking at the item list so far, I mean, I can understand why. Amon does have 3 items. He's got more than enough armor penetration to really start take down bigger targets. And since Clay was there, you might as well give it a try. But R7 playing it smoothly. Unfortunately for him, as we were talking about before, does he have the crosshair helm? No, he does not. However, Clay is in prime position.
Now it becomes real dangerous, though, for RRQ Hoshi. Sure, they're still in the lead right now. 1.7 thousand gold lead, but again, we need to step back. Their composition works really well in the early to the mid stages of the game. If it goes to that ultra late game state again, 16 minutes in, that's where RSG find their power spike. It's baffling to me that they found so much success before hitting that Omega quote-unquote timer.
Yeah, and right now, if you saw in those items too, right, Clay really starting to just get those damage items this time around. It's not the same build he played in game number 1, and that could turn the tides for them as they get to this point. He has to be able to match that damage that is going to be pumped out from Aqua too, like we talked about with the Xavier, especially late game. Now, Lord, going to be bobbed and weaved around here for now. Which team decides to go in?
Half HP on the Lord. This time around, it is going to be the Luminous one, enhanced one, as RSG look to find more control here. R7 looking for the heavy spin, going at it. They're going to go for it. That's going to be Albert with the Retribution. Clay going to get taken down, though. That's going to be the Numenat Blast popped and used from Light to catch Finn off. He is going to fall 2 for 0 right now. They're looking to collapse for more. Skylar will not be able to run away. He goes in for one more dash. Insane maneuvers from both of the teams. Albert gets out with 1 HP, but will fall to Aqua. R7 gets out. The Lord traded in for 3 kills. I don't think it's worth it.
I don't think it's worth it too, and I think Vin, unfortunately, did make a little bit of a mistake there. I think he could have sacrificed his life to save both Clay and as well as Albert there in that situation. Maybe not necessarily Clay,